I didn't have nothing.
Steve Harvey. The name commands attention, success, and undeniable charisma. A man whose voice, humor, and presence have dominated television screens for decades. But what if the laughter that built his empire was born from pain so deep it nearly broke him? What if, behind the suits, the confidence, and the larger-than-life personality lies a story of struggle, rejection, and emotional battles that never truly disappeared? Born Broderick Stephen Harvey in 1957 in Welch, West Virginia, his early life was far from glamorous. Raised in a working-class family, he grew up understanding hardship from a young age. His father was a coal miner, and discipline was strict, expectations were high, and opportunities were limited. The environment he was raised in demanded resilience, but it also instilled a fear of failure that would follow him for years. He was not always the confident entertainer the world sees today. In fact, he struggled with self-doubt, uncertainty, and the pressure of finding his place in a world that did not offer easy paths to success. His journey into comedy was not immediate. It was risky, uncertain, and filled with moments that would have caused most people to give up entirely. In the late 1980s, when he decided to pursue stand-up comedy full-time, he faced one of the darkest periods of his life. Homelessness for nearly 3 years. He lived out of his car, showering at gas stations, and relying on small gigs that barely paid enough to survive. There were nights filled with hunger, days filled with rejection, and a constant battle with the question of whether he had made the biggest mistake of his life during that time. He lost relationships, he lost stability, and at times, he nearly lost hope. Entirely, the pain of being separated from his children while chasing a dream added another layer of emotional strain, one that would stay with him long after success arrived when his breakthrough finally came. It was not instant relief. It was the beginning of a new kind of pressure. Success brought visibility, but it also brought scrutiny as he rose to fame through shows like The Steve Harvey Show and later Family Feud. He became a household name admired for his humor and relatability. But behind the scenes, the challenges continued. His personal life became increasingly complicated, marked by divorces, custody battles, and public controversies that tested his resilience in ways that fame could not protect him from. The emotional toll of these experiences was significant. Relationships ended not just between partners, but also created distance between him and some of his children at different points in his life. And for a man who often speaks about family values, this internal conflict carried a quiet weight that the public rarely saw, even as he built an empire in entertainment, hosting radio shows, writing best-selling books, and becoming a motivational figure. He was navigating the complexities of blending families, rebuilding connections, and confronting the consequences of past decisions. One of the most defining and publicly painful moments of his career came during the Miss Universe 2015 pageant, where he mistakenly announced the wrong winner in front of a global audience. What followed was immediate backlash, criticism, and humiliation on an international scale. The mistake became a viral moment that overshadowed his accomplishments and placed him under intense scrutiny, despite his public apology and efforts to correct the error. The incident lingered, affecting his confidence and serving as a reminder that even at the peak of success, one moment can redefine how the world perceives you. Yet what makes his story truly compelling is not the mistakes or the hardships, but how he responded to them. Instead of retreating, he leaned into his faith, using it as a foundation to rebuild his confidence and purpose. He became more vocal about his journey, sharing the realities of his struggles with audiences around the world, turning personal pain into powerful lessons of perseverance. His rise from homelessness to global success became a cornerstone of his message, inspiring millions who saw in him a reflection of their own battles. But even with that inspiration, the emotional scars did not simply disappear. Success does not erase the past. It coexists with it. The memories of sleeping in a car, the pain of broken relationships, the public failures that played out on the world stage all remain part of his story, shaping the man he has become. At 69, the tragedy of his life is not just in the struggles he endured, but in the understanding of how much was lost along the way. Time that cannot be regained, moments with loved ones that were missed, and the emotional toll of building a life under constant pressure. Yet within that tragedy lies a powerful narrative of resilience, a testament to the strength required to not only survive, but to rise, to keep pushing forward when the odds are overwhelming, to find purpose in pain, and to transform setbacks into stepping stones. His journey is a reminder that behind every success story is a reality far more complex than it appears, that the path to greatness is often paved with sacrifice, heartbreak, and difficult choices, and that true strength is not measured by the absence of struggle, but by the ability to continue. Despite it all, his life stands as proof that even in the face of devastating circumstances, it is possible to rebuild, to redefine, and to create a legacy that extends far beyond the hardships that once threatened to define it. The reality becomes even heavier when you look beyond the success and into the moments that never made it to television. The quiet sacrifices that shaped everything yet were never fully seen or understood, because even after achieving global recognition, the internal battles did not simply disappear. They evolved into something more subtle, more complex, a constant pressure to maintain the image that the world had come to expect, an image of confidence, control, and unshakable authority, while internally there were still echoes of the past, the memories of sleeping in a car, the fear of losing everything again, the lingering doubt that success could be temporary, and that everything he built could vanish just as quickly as it came. That kind of fear does not leave easily. It stays beneath the surface, influencing decisions, shaping reactions, and creating a drive that is fueled as much by survival as it is by ambition. And as the years went on, that pressure intensified because success brought more responsibility, more expectations, more eyes watching every move, every word, every mistake. And in a world where public figures are constantly judged, even the smallest misstep can feel like a collapse of everything you have worked for. The weight of that reality became especially clear during moments of controversy, when criticism came not just from strangers, but from people who once supported him. And those moments revealed something deeper, not just the difficulty of being in the spotlight, but the emotional cost of constantly having to prove yourself again and again, even after decades of success. And while he often spoke about faith as his anchor, there were undoubtedly moments where the silence felt louder than the applause, where the questions felt heavier than the answers, where the journey forward was not as clear as it once seemed. But perhaps the most profound aspect of his story is how he dealt with the relationships in his life, because success can build a platform, but it cannot automatically repair what was strained or broken along the way. And rebuilding trust, reconnecting with family members, strengthening bonds that were tested by time, distance, and past decisions requires a level of humility and vulnerability that is far more difficult than achieving fame itself. Those are the moments that do not get broadcast, the conversations behind closed doors, the efforts to be present, the attempts to balance a demanding career with the need to be a father, a husband, a provider, not just financially, but emotionally. And those efforts carry their own weight because they require confronting the past, not avoiding it, acknowledging mistakes, not just publicly, but personally, and finding ways to grow beyond them. And that process is not linear. It is filled with setbacks, moments of doubt, and the constant challenge of aligning who you were with who you are trying to become. And as he moved further into this stage of life, there came a shift in perspective, where success was no longer just about ratings or recognition, but about impact, about legacy, about what remains when the cameras are off and the audience is gone. And in that space, the questions become deeper, more personal. What truly matters? What defines a life well lived? What is left behind beyond the fame and the fortune? And those questions do not have easy answers, but they shape the way a person moves forward. They influence the choices they make, the priorities they set, and the way they see themselves beyond the roles they have played in the public eye. And that is where the real story unfolds, not in the highlights, not in the achievements, but in the ongoing process of growth, of reflection, of trying to become better, despite everything that has happened, and despite everything that could have gone differently. And in that process, there is both struggle and strength, because facing your own past, your own decisions, your own imperfections is one of the hardest things anyone can do. Yet, it is also where true transformation begins. And that is the deeper layer of this journey. Not just a story of rising from nothing to something, but a story of continuing to evolve, of refusing to be defined by the lowest moments, while also never forgetting them, of using every experience, every hardship, every failure as a foundation to build something more meaningful, something more lasting. And at this point in life, that meaning becomes more important than anything else, because time changes perspective. It shifts priorities. It reveals what truly holds value and what ultimately fades away. And in that realization, there is both a sense of peace and a sense of urgency, a desire to make the most of what remains, to ensure that the legacy being built is not just one of success, but one of authenticity, of growth, of resilience, and of impact. And that is what makes this story so powerful, because it is not just about what was achieved, but about what was endured, what was learned, and what continues to evolve even now, long after the world has already decided what it believes the story to be.